We are talking about overcoming the spirit of fear. 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7 said, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Fear is one of the greatest devastating emotions to a human being. Fear is not rational. It is not based on facts. Researchers have found that 40% of the things we worry about never happen. 30% are in the past and can't be helped. Another 12% of our worry involves the affairs of others and not even our business. 10% of our relate to sickness, real or imagined. That leaves us with 8% of things we worry about that are likely to happen. And therefore, we go through fears that will never even happen. Now, this is what Mark Twain said. "I am an old man and I have many great troubles, but most of them never happened." Most of what we face, most of what we fear, most of what depresses us, most of the things that make us to panic, to worry about, never happened. Never even happened. Therefore, fear and worry, even panic, is a waste. Fear brings about worry, because fear and worry work together. Fear brings panic. If you panic, you lie. If you fear, you break rules. You make irrational decisions. As a matter of fact, fear is more dangerous than the real problem that you are afraid of. And therefore, I want us to focus on 4 areas that in most cases we are afraid of. And we are going to find solution from the Word of God. Number 1, there is a fear of not being important. Matthew chapter 10 verse 31 says, "Do not fear. You are more valuable than a great number of sparrows." There is a fear of not adding value. You feel you cannot help your children. You feel you cannot add value on society. You feel you cannot improve on someone else's life. You have a sense of being useless. Most people fear because they think they are useless. They are not valuable. They think they cannot help their generation. They think they cannot help their husbands or wife. If you reach that level of having a sense of insignificance, that for you, you are not important, then you are afraid. And Jesus is telling us that do not fear. You are more valuable than many sparrows. God values you. If God values you, you will value yourself. If you value yourself, you will add value to your family, to your church, to your community, and your generation. And there is the fear of being small. Luke chapter 12 verse 30 to say, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you a kingdom." Some people feel they have a small business. They come from a small family. They are small. They are not big enough. They have a sense of being little, so they belittle themselves. And this is what Jesus is saying, that fear not, little flock. Do you know why? David was a small man, was taking care of the flock, but he became a king. Esther was a small girl, but she became a queen. Saul came from a small clan. In fact, he said, "I come from a small clan of Benjamin." You remember this man called Gideon. Gideon said, "I'm not even worthy. I come from a small family, a small clan, hiding from the bad boys." But God told him, "You are a mighty man of valor." Friends, doesn't matter whether you come from a small city, a small family, a small background. God says you are big and He's willing to give you a kingdom. And there is a fear of the future. We do not know what the future holds. We don't know what tomorrow holds. Matthew chapter 6 verse 34 says, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Most of us do not really know what tomorrow holds. We have a sense of fearing about our future. Don't know how our future career is, how our families will be, how our children will be, whether we shall have successful families or not. We don't know whether we shall have successful businesses or not, ministry or not. There is that sense of fearing. You don't know what tomorrow holds. You don't know what will happen in the next 5, 10 years. But God says, do not worry about it tomorrow, for God controls your tomorrow. Remember, Jeremiah 29:11 says that God has a better plan for you. He has a hope for you, a better future for you. So there is no need of fearing about the future. And I want you to know that most people live in fear because they don't know whether they will survive tomorrow. God has already taken care of your tomorrow. And the last one is the fear of going to heaven. There is a life after death. There is resurrection and there is heaven. When you read John 14:2 says, in my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it was not so, I would not have told you, for I go to prepare a place for you. Most people are so scared of life after this life to the point that they deny the existence of God. That's why some people say there is no hell, there is no heaven, there is no God, there is nothing beyond this life. Friends, I want to remind you that there is life after life. There is life after death. And that life after death is not a bad life unless you choose. Of course, there is heaven, there is hell. But all these places depend on your choice. You can choose to go to heaven because Jesus is the way to heaven. And he says he has gone to prepare a place for us in heaven. Friends, finally, I want us to understand that despite all that we fear, the fear of the future, the fear of being insignificant, the fear of life after death, the fear of being small, we must always trust the presence of God. Isaiah 43 verse 2 says, when you go through the deep waters, I will be with you. When you go through the river of difficulties, I will be with you. When you go through all these fires of oppression, I will be with you. You will not be burnt up. The flames will not consume you. The presence of God is always with us. When we go through fire, we shall not be consumed. When we go through the waters of trouble, we shall not be overwhelmed. Are you going through a disease, a sickness? You have tension. You are on panic. You are scared, making dangerous and bad decisions. Fear not, relax, and trust the presence of God. Guess what? Jesus cares for you. Problems will not kill you. You will not be overwhelmed by trouble. He will give you peace inside your heart. And trust me, and trust Jesus, that victory is on your side. Victory for your family is on your side. Keep trusting God.